Hello everybody, Kyle from the Vevox support team here. I'm going to be showing you how you can link your Vevox sessions to your Canvas environment and how students can access those sessions through their learning environment as well. I'm also going to be showing you a few tips and tricks on how to set up your Vevox sessions in Canvas, so with scoring and with identification, as well as a few different ways that it can be used, and we will also be speaking through some use cases as well. I always recommend creating your Vevox sessions prior to adding them to Canvas, so be it through the dashboard. So clicking Create Session, naming your session, so I'm going to call it Test Lesson for this example. I'm going to go ahead and click Create. And then I recommend setting up either your polling questions or your surveys prior to adding them to your Canvas environment. This way it's just a bit easier because when you go to add them to Canvas, they'll already be made and you don't have to worry about going back and making those sessions and doing it from scratch when you're trying to add them to Canvas. It's more of simply just clicking the button, adding them into your assignment, and then connecting it, and students can then go in and answer. That being said, let's move over to the Canvas environment now, and I'll quickly show you how you can actually add these sessions from Vevox into your Canvas environment. I want to add a Vevox session to my geography course. I'm going to go ahead and enter the geography course here. And then I'll head over to assignments on the left. And then I want to create a new assignment. So I'm going to click plus with the assignment button up here. And we are greeted with this page here. What we need to first do is give our assignment a name. So I'm going to call this one Lesson 1 First Years. You can then add a description to your assignment if you so wish. I don't have one personally, but I'm sure as a lecturer you will probably have some nice descriptions to put into this box here. You can change the amount of points and the assignment group, as well as the display grade as. So you can display as points, a percentage, the letter grade, GPA scale, and you can have it as not graded. What we then need to do to link our Vevox session is click on the submission type and make sure that we have selected external tool. And then we need to click find here. Once you've clicked find, scroll down until you see Vevox. Click on Vevox, and it will load the external tool. So what this is doing now is it's loading Vevox in a separate browser for you to select your session. I'm going to go ahead and click into this session that I have previously created. As I was saying earlier, if you haven't created a session already, you can create it from here. You will just then have to go in and add the relevant survey or polls after linking it to Canvas. I'm going to click on this lesson 1 here. And it's going to open up the choice of whether I want to use polling or surveys. So, like I said earlier, you can utilize live polling through Canvas as well, but just beware that live polling is host controlled. So, as the host myself, I would have to open and close the questions for the students to be able to answer them. What I'm going to be using is a survey or a self-paced quiz in some instances, which is user controlled, and they are done asynchronously by students, meaning that I don't have to control the pace at which they do it. I can start the survey for them and then they can do it in their own time whenever they like. So if I click into this survey here, which I created earlier, we now get a few different options. You can see that we also have a warning down here telling us that changing session identification to identified will also update any existing links for this session. We have two options at the top: anonymous, which means that participants are fully anonymous and no grading information will be passed back to Canvas. So if you're wanting to score your students on this survey, then it's important that we have it set to identified. Talking about scoring, we do have a few scoring options down here. So you can choose whether you want to score your students on correct answers, participation, both of them combined. You can change the weight of which they get scored on. Or you can do what I like to do, which is simply select both of them, which will create 2 columns in your gradebook. It will also mean that students are scored on correct answers, so the amount of questions they get correct, and participation, the amount of questions and responses that they send in, making sure that they are actually participating in the whole survey. We have a few options down here for score syncing. So what this refers to is whether you want the gradebook to automatically update when a student closes the survey or finishes the survey, or whether you want to manually yourself go into the data tab of Vevox and sync the grades manually. For this example, I will leave it on automatic so that when I answer the survey, it automatically sends the grades back to the gradebook. But that being said, I'm happy with my settings. I have identified turn on, and I also have automatic score syncing enabled. So if I go ahead and click done, what will now happen is I just need to click select here, and we now have linked our Vevox survey here. There are a few options to note here, which is making sure that you signed your survey or your assignment to the correct audience, the correct participants that you want to assign it to. So I have it set to everyone. Every student can answer and join this session. Or you might have different groups in here. You can see here we've got loads of different student groups that we have here at Vevox. There is also the option to load the tool in a separate tab. So when students open Vevox, you can either have it in that nice iframe within Canvas, or by selecting this, it will actually open a new window in which students can answer the survey. For this example, I will leave it as an embedded frame in Canvas. There are a few more assignment options down here as well, with due dates and available from and until. I won't get into that, of course. You guys will be able to set that up yourselves. Once we're happy with everything, we can either save, or in my case, I'm going to save and publish this survey. What it's going to do for me now is it's going to open up the instructor view or the teacher view for this survey. And essentially what that is just a link out to the Vevox dashboard. So if I click open a new tab here, it's going to take me to my personal dashboard view. Now that I'm in my personal dashboard view, you can see that it's linked me into the survey within the session that I created earlier. And I can now go ahead and open the quiz. One thing to note in here, before you open the quiz, or at least before you get any responses, if you did want to change some scoring options and have a play with that, I always recommend doing this before you have any responses to your survey. To do this though, you click on this LTI button here, and it opens up that scoring settings or LTI settings that we were looking at whilst connecting the session. Now that my survey is open, what I can do is I can go back to Canvas here, have a look at the student view, and as a student, what we should see is, as it's an identified session, it will tell us. So we can see that I'm a test student, obviously, as I don't have a proper profile on here, and our identity is hidden from public view. Our name will not appear aside any questions in the Q&A board, and contributions will be tracked by the host. So what that essentially means is in Vevox, I'll be able to see in the data tab who's responded, as well as it will pass the grades back to the gradebook. If I click OK here, what we'll be able to see is the survey open up. You can see we've got no due date, we've got an amount of points for this session, and we're submitting as an external tool. So now the students can go through, answer the questions, and then submit. You can see in this instance I didn't do very well. I got 1 out of 5 right. But for the sake of showing how it works, this is obviously completely fine. Now I've done this, what I'll do is I will exit the student view. And what I will do is I will head back to my assignments. What I'm going to do now is head into the gradebook to show you how things look that side. We can see that if we scroll across to our surveys that we just added, so we can see that lesson 1, the survey I just added, I got 2 points for answers, for correct answers, because I got 1 out of 5 right. But I did participate in all of the questions, so I've got 10 out of 10 for participation. And that's what it will do if you have participation and correct answer scoring set to pass back to the gradebook. it will create 2 columns, one for participation and one for scoring. If you had your survey set up to sync manually, so you didn't have your grades syncing automatically like I had here, you can head to the Data tab, and there is this LTI sync button in the top right. Clicking this will allow you to sync any grades that haven't automatically been synced. So we can see that no manual sync activities are found for me right now, but if you had it set to manual, it would say that there are X amount of grades ready to sync. You click sync and it will send them over to the gradebook. A few really important things to make sure you do when you're launching your activities for the first time. So this lesson 1 for first years, what I'll do is I'll head into this quickly as the host, as lecturer. When students are trying to join through SSO or through other means like the 9-digit session ID, it is really important that you click on this Open in New tab, because this initializes the link between Vevox and Canvas. If you don't click this, students might have an issue accessing the session, so just making sure you click that link. You don't have to stay on the link, you can click it and close Vevox straight away, but it just does initialize that link between Canvas and Vevox. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial on how to add Vevox sessions to your Canvas environment. If you want to see more videos like this, just some more helpful tips and tricks, then please do head over to our YouTube channel and follow us on all of our social medias. We'd love to see you guys on LinkedIn as well. We also have a help site which is also really helpful for sort of troubleshooting, and we've got some FAQs on there as well if you need them. But that's everything from me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching.